So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our video of transit of 2023. But especially this is a little bit unique because, as you know, I've already discussed in 2023 with Saturn going over planets, Jupiter going over planets, Rahu separately going over planets. But one thing we're not discussing is Jupiter and Saturn both being in the same sign of Aries. While Jupiter is going to start coming closer to Rahu's degree starting April 20th of next year, and they're going to meet next year. And especially, in the early degrees, like 4 degrees to 12, 13 degrees of Aries, any planet sitting in this particular degrees will be strongly impacted. But the thing is, whenever you have two planets of different qualities coming together, there's a chemical reaction. It's simple chemistry. So Rahu represents an element and Jupiter represents an element. They're coming together. So it's not the same as just Rahu going over Sun or Jupiter going over Sun. When both of them go over, that's different. So what is the difference here? The difference is that with Jupiter and Rahu, there is this condition of rebelliousness. But this is not a rebel without a cause. This is a rebel who is wanting to bring a change outside the context of social norm, outside the context of what is accepted in society. Here, a person is willing to mold their principles to bring about a reasonable desired change, by intoxicating itself a little bit. The best example is Jupiter. Like, for example, a joke. Jupiter walks into a bar. A guru walks into a bar. So in order for Jupiter to walk into a bar and change the people around him or her, Jupiter cannot just be Jupiter, because people will just reject it. People will make fun of him and ridicule this person, as a guru. They may not accept him or her as being anywhere cool. So what then Jupiter does here, because it's in the bar, it takes help of Rahu. It's like, all right, show me the ways that people react when they're drinking. What are they talking about? What is the different type of alcohol there? What is it everybody prefers at a bar? And so what Jupiter does, like, okay, I'm going to disguise myself. I'm going to pretend to be with these people, taste their life, and change them through me blending in with them and not really showing who I am. And this is something that you will even read in many, many good books, that sometimes you have to indulge into a certain obsession or addiction in order to get over it. Like, even in the book Apprentice to a Himalayan Master, Sri M's teacher, Maheshwarnath, was actually taking a lady into a restaurant to have a drink with her. And yet he doesn't drink, highly realized individual. But he had to in order to change her. Same thing is happening here. So now hopefully you have a better idea of this Jupiter and Rahu mix when they are going over planets. So when it goes over Sun, a person will naturally try to blend in with a crowd to attain its position and its status. Sun which also, represents our morals. Okay. Because it's the significator of the first and co-rules the significance of the ninth. The sun represents the father, Jupiter represents the guru. So here one will try to kind of change their morals, change what they believe in order to kind of perpetuate their belief system into the world. So hopefully you're getting this, like, because, sun is the light. Sun is the most brightest thing. It represents our soul. Soul is willing to try something different in 2023 in order to understand its surroundings better. You take moon. Moon being the significator of the mind, travel, mother, comfort. One is going to be taking an unorthodox approach towards traveling. Unorthodox approach towards what makes them happy. Maybe you're following one set of religion, one set of belief system. Suddenly you're like, in order for me to understand what I believe, let me also follow this and look at it from that perspective of this thing. Instead of me just traveling to this one place all the time, let me go while river rafting. Let me actually go to a place which is difficult to go and I've never been to it before because it's challenging. It is challenging my social norm. Okay. For example, even moon is a significator of home real estate. So here these two transit going over the moon. A person is going to want a completely different set of environment to live in versus what they're used to. If somebody's living out in the middle of a country, middle of, farm fields, suddenly they're like, I want to experience the city. I gotta go to the city and live in the city. Many young people will be going through this when they're living in the country, living in the villages, like, I gotta leave. I really need to experience life in a different way. Move to a different place, travel to a completely different place. And what this will do, this will help them understand their roots. They will ultimately enjoy what they are leaving. And vice versa. City person going into out in wilderness to live. And they will see the reality of how hard it is to live in a, wilderness, living in a country. And they'll be like, you know what, I appreciate my modern life now even more. Then if you look at Mercury. So with Jupiter and Jupiter and Rahu both going over Mercury. Mercury is going to become obsessed with unusual knowledge, unusual learning. Somebody who takes physics, is taking physics for the past 2 years in their college, suddenly will now be interested in learning about history, suddenly wanting to learn about, mysticism of India, and they're taking a course in that. Or they come across astrology, they get interested with it. Because perhaps maybe astrology or Vedic astrology will help them understand their subject of physics even better. And Mercury is communication, so you will see one will become very brash in their communication. One will use words that they have never used before, which are going to sound very toxic. Especially with Mercury going over young people. Okay, so if you are in your teens and you have Mercury in Aries, or if you're a parent and you're watching this, with Jupiter Rahu going over it, they will be getting used to, bad words, bad languages, trying to fit in and being cool. Even like suddenly now wanting to try substances because it's that peer pressure. So you want to kind of like give them a certain, lessons about life, before this transit actually takes place, that listen, this is how your mind is going to be operating now. You're going to try to look cool, but look what can happen because of this mistake. It can ruin your entire life. That one thing that you will do with your friends. That one mistake that you can make driving. So that's, especially with Mercury, is very important because Mercury is very impressionable. Mercury now suddenly wants to dance to the tune of whatever it's listening to. So instead of now listening to classical music, it's now in a club in the middle of the midnight with a DJ going and all kinds of substances flowing. So this is where it becomes important. Let's say Venus. With Rahu Jupiter going over Venus, suddenly one wants to take unorthodox, outcast steps within their relationship and marriage, or suddenly will have a desire to wanting to get into a relationship with somebody of different culture, different ethnicity, different, caste background if you're in India. There'll be this sudden, even if somebody's like very much into just dating this one particular type of people, this one type of, religious background, cultural background. Now with Rahu Jupiter, they feel like, I'm open to other people. I'm open to dating other people. Within the marriage itself, one is going to feel like, we always keep doing this routine things, even romantically. Let me actually now spice up this married life and do something different. Something which we have never thought about. Something that, my husband would never even think of me, approaching our intimacy this way. So again, you see how that Jupiter going into a bar is the same analysis that philosophy is now helping a particular part of your life, improve. Because what you thought is like, oh, I will never do this. Oh, this is way outside of my comfort zone. You're like, you know what? No, this is life. I need to experience it. I need to see what this is about. For example, if Venus represents vehicles, you love getting your regular, sedan car. You want to get your regular four-door car all the time. This is your fourth car you'll be leasing and exchanging. And suddenly you'll be like, I want to get a sports car. Suddenly you end up getting a sports car. Or if you, drive like a regular sedan, regular two-door car, four-door car, suddenly you're like, why am I not driving a pickup truck? Let me get a Ford F-150 or Raptor or TRX or something. Let me get into it and see, what this lifestyle is about. And you get into it, you do test drive, you're like, wow, I feel different in this. I want this instead of what I've been doing. Now, of course, once this transit, crosses over each other, yeah, you may come back to like, okay, this was a great experience. Now, let me do this. But or it simply triggers a new way of approaching your travels, approaching your vehicles. And especially with Venus, with Rahu, Jupiter coming over it. So Jiva and Bhoga is happening. You're going to see, especially in male, the testosterone increases. The sperm count will increase. The sexual vitality increases. You will see, especially if a female has a Venus or Jupiter Rahu go over Venus, they will suddenly change their look and make it themselves look more exotic and, exploring boundaries outside of their comfort zone of their physical appearance. Because again, Jupiter represents going outside of comfort zone. Why? Because Jupiter rules Pisces. And ninth house of pilgrimage, higher education is not easy. Postgrad education is not easy, it's tough. 12th house of spirituality is not easy. It's tough. It requires discipline. Sometimes it'll require you to be without food for 2 days before you meet anybody who you can beg to and get food. That's the path of Jupiter. So this is why one will take these, approaches which are, outside the boundaries of your comfort zone. Whoops, completely missed Mars. So here I am next day adding Mars in this. So Mars, Rahu and Jupiter going over Mars. Mars is naturally the karka of the body, it's the Dhiya karka. Is the significator of brothers, significator of valor, is the significator of property, technology. So here you will see with Mars is that a person is going to be taking a very unusual, awkward approach to purchasing a property. A person is going to be suddenly behaving in a very unusual way when dealing with one's siblings. One will take a different approach in how to deal with siblings, how to deal with male colleagues. And this especially you can also see in women's chart because Mars represents that attraction, right? So here when Mars in Aries with both these planets going, one is going to become very aggressive towards dealing with men in relationship. There's this natural acceleration of masculine quality that comes about. You naturally also see one will not be afraid of starting fights. With Mars in Aries, Rahu Jupiter going over due to your principles and morals. You will not budge from your ideas. You may even be offended by other people's ideas and you can get into fight with that. So you need to kind of really watch out for these type of things. Mars become very strong about its belief system, about its morals. So whether it's with friends, brothers, strangers, you're going to be twice as, stubborn about what you believe in. And the way you're taking that different approach with Rahu Jupiter is to become rebellious against somebody else's idea. So this is Mars with Rahu Jupiter going over Jupiter itself. You're going to look for teachers and mentors and gurus of other culture, other descent, to give you some perspective on wisdom and knowledge. And you're going to try to seek that so you can understand your own original path better. You will come across foreign teachers. But also, with Jupiter and Rahu going over, Jupiter itself, one, depending upon what type of a dasha you're going through, you could be wrongly influenced by some teacher or guru, which would be a lesson for you to then understand and appreciate what you learned. Jupiter and Rahu going over Saturn. One will have a sudden desire to do something completely different in their work. One is going to have a desire to take risky, wild chances, in their career in order to progress. Everybody has to progress. So, an individual is going to desire to progress through doing something completely awkward. They may stick to the same career, but they'll just take some kind of a new, weird, awkward approach. Like, for example, somebody's a lawyer and they're just working 14, 15 hours a day. They're like, that's it. I don't want to I'm going to lessen my work, even if I make less money right now. And I'm going to open a TikTok and talk about law on TikTok or YouTube. I want to give this advice to people because at least it'll be something different, something refreshing, and I'm still, kind of practicing my own career at the same time. So again, those unorthodox approaches. With Rahu, having Rahu Jupiter go over it, okay, the desires tend to find wisdom. On one hand, Rahu is like increasing the desire even more. But Jupiter is showing that there's a better way to approach life than to go towards desires. There's a way to tame your desires and be happy. And one usually with Rahu, with Jupiter Rahu going over Rahu, one could come across some teacher, mentor who is a street smart person and may give you some lessons that you may need to kind of like increase the capacity of your Rahu. But again, that's a very trickling thing. You don't know which side you're going to fall on in terms of wisdom, And then Ketu. Rahu, Jupiter going over Ketu. Ketu naturally represents our spirituality, our past, our accomplished deeds from the past. Okay, with Rahu, Jupiter coming over Ketu, there's a spark of desire from past life that becomes active. Like suddenly now one will automatically, see, Ketu is subconscious. So automatically one starts to experience or gets into experiences of the past that will lead to attaining some kind of a wisdom. And again, because every planet that I'm talking about is obviously going to be in an Aries sign, which is a fire sign. It's a tamasic sign. So you will see that there will be a strong, aggressive approach being taken by each planet in a dramatic way. This is not Taurus. This is the ignition. That ignite, spark of life, spark plug. Like in India, the scooters used to have spark plug. I don't know if they still do. I'm sure they do. But it's that initial spark of life. So it's very strong spark in Aries. Okay. So hopefully this gives you a better idea of what you're going to be experiencing in Aries when it's going over a planet. And I've already uploaded a video on Sun in 9th from Sun technique on my KRS vlogs. For link you will find in the description for my academy, KRSchannel.thinkeffect.com. And I'm going to be doing another unique kind of video with Saturn, either 3rd from Saturn or 10th from Saturn next week. All right. Bye-bye.